All right, in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my honest opinion on whether or not Abbotsford BC is a safe place to live. And just some background on me. I've lived here for 6 years, but I'm originally from Surrey, BC, where I lived there for 22 years, which is well known for being absolutely filled with crime. So I'm going to be giving you guys my subjective opinion on whether or not Abbotsford is safe, because I've done tons of videos before on objectively if it's safe, like looking at the statistics. And this time I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion from a guy who's lived here for 6 years. So Abbotsford has a nickname kind of around Vancouver's metro region, and that name is Stabbotsford. And at one point back in the day, Abbotsford was the murder capital of Canada, and that's obviously where it got its name. Now today, it's not the murder capital of Canada anymore. I'm not too sure what is, but at one point it was called Stabbotsford. Now there is a decently high degree of crime here. However, I think that's pretty much anywhere these days. I think it's pretty hard to get away from. But since I've lived here, my car's been broken into multiple times. And actually, one night my girlfriend left the Christmas presents in her car in our parkade. Just one night, somebody broke in, stole all of our Christmas presents. So that was amazing. But yeah, car break-ins a few times. One time somebody got jumped in the hallway outside of my apartment, and I had to clean a bunch of blood off of my door and stuff like that. And I know that sounds bad, but in all reality, I can tell you personally, I have felt a lot safer here than I did while I was living in Surrey. Surrey, I often felt unsafe walking around at night. And as a result of that, my dad used to tell me to just carry a rock in my pocket with me. And he grew up in Belfast, Ireland in the 70s, which was debatably, one of the worst areas you could have possibly been living in the 70s. But anyways, I used to carry a rock with me everywhere I went when I was walking at night, because if somebody had a weapon or whatever, they're probably not going to charge you if you're pump faking with a rock, right? So that was kind of my line of defense. But anyways, I've never felt like I've had to carry a rock walking around anywhere in Abbotsford at night. And in fact, me and my fiance go for walks frequently through Mill Lake Park at night. And I actually had a gun pulled on me one time in Surrey, believe this or not, inside a Wendy's when I was like 17 years old. And I've had people try to rob me and other stuff like that, none of which I've had to deal with in Abbotsford. However, what I will say about Abbotsford is there is a lot more petty crime, I would say, than Surrey. Now, again, this is subjective. The statistics may not reflect this, but what I've found is there's more car break-ins, there's more theft, there's more drugs, drug dealing, and more homelessness has been what I've found. However, it's not as violent as other cities. Like Vancouver, there's like a random stabbing happening almost every week now, and Surrey, there's random stabbings, and Burnaby, there's random shootings, and now even like Langley, there's been like random stabbings and stuff, but none of that has happened in Abbotsford since I've lived here. There's just a lot less violent crime I've personally found. Like, you don't really hear about violent crime in the news in how it relates to Abbotsford for the most part. And a lot of the gang activity is happening out west in Surrey, Burnaby, Vancouver, out there in that area. So overall, Abbotsford is safe. You just might have your car window smashed every once in a while and your, driver's side mirror kicked in. But just like any other city, there's going to be, safer areas than others. So the first area that I believe is the safest area is going to be East Abbotsford. You go pretty much anywhere in East Abbotsford, that entire section of Abbotsford, I would say, is safe pretty much anywhere. South Abbotsford is pretty decent too from what I've seen. And then you have Central Abbotsford, which is the rough area of Abbotsford. This is where most of that petty crime is heavily condensed within Central Abbotsford, which is where I live right now. So if you're raising a family, I would recommend staying away from Central Abbotsford. And then West Abbotsford, from what I've seen, can be good or bad. It just quite literally almost like depends on the block you're living in. There's some nicer looking areas of West Abbotsford, and then there's some not so good looking areas in West Abbotsford. But what's funny? We talk about the safety of Abbotsford, yet if you compare the safety here or Surrey or Vancouver or anywhere close to here to pretty much any city in the United States, you will find that pretty much everywhere here is statistically safe, aside from like East Hastings. But if we're to grade these cities, what is a B+ neighborhood in the States is like our C neighborhood, so to speak. So most of our neighborhoods here are probably B+ neighborhoods in the States, and then you probably have like the odd C+ neighborhood or C neighborhood, I would say. But it's pretty hard to be in an unsafe, bad area, I would say, aside from East Hastings, and that's in Vancouver. Like, we don't really have any gun violence here, or like, you know, we have gangs, but they're not like the gangs in the United States. Like, they don't just like openly hang out on the road, and it's more like organized crime, I would say, where it's just, you know, targeted shootings, and if you're not in a gang, then it doesn't really affect you. But when it comes down to violence overall, I think Abbotsford is one of the safer cities where we live. When it comes down to petty crime, I think Abbotsford is one of the worst cities for petty crime. But anyways, there's my opinion from a guy who lives here. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. If you're thinking about moving to Abbotsford, feel free to give me a ring. I've got my calendar link down in the description. You can book yourself into my calendar. I'm That Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.